Pagans posting psychotic nonsense is like water being wet. Elon made the likes private so the Israeli and Russian bot farms can astroturf their Zio Trump Jesus agenda. Oh my gosh, DEFCON 3, DEFCON 3, shut it all down, shut it all down, oh! I don't think Elon made the likes private so bots can hide better and function the way they want to function. No, I think he did it so people can like and enjoy more controversial conflict without having to worry about losing their jobs or suffering within their immediate livelihoods. Which makes sense, and it's a good thing. And it doesn't matter whether a pagan is short and fat, or tall and skinny, or welly educated, or a fucking moron. They're always going to end up saying shit that makes them look like manic idiots.
Look at this. Okay. First, my flights are canceled. Then, I'm like, all right, I'm going to drive and make a decision. I'm driving. Stuck in traffic for like over half an hour. Turns out a fucking trailer was top-sided across 3 lanes.
Oh boy.
Now I'm in Pennsylvania and it's a fucking tsunami. Look at this.
What could be doing this, Lucas, to you?
Like, what the fuck is this? Somebody doesn't want me to go.
Somebody.
And we know who those people are. We know they're controlling the weather. They're changing the weather.
He even knows it's ridiculous.
They flipped over a truck, and now they're changing the weather. They're manipulating the weather, so I can't go to Halfback. I'm going. Hey, listen to me. You're not
Did
stopping
they make
me.
the world round
I
also?
don't give a shit what Talmudic magic you're going to use. I'm going to Halfback.
I'm going to Halfback! You can't stop me! Ah!
Look at this crap.
Yeah, just look at that fucking crap. That other bull crap that just makes everyone else look like complete retards. And they do this all the time. They post stuff that really just shoots them in the foot. There has been much conjecture about my ethnicity recently, to put the rumors to bed, am a majority of European with some trace of admixture. Ashkenazi. Yes, I'm a Baptist, and I'm also a Mischling. Or is anyone surprised? Finished there at the bottom. Now, I don't know if those are his real DNA results, or if he's just shitposting. But when you post a lot of content on your Twitter page that are very pro-NSDAP, and now you're coming out saying, oh, I'm Ashkenazi, just because people are accusing you of it, you're really just shooting yourself in the foot and confirming their suspicions about you. But more importantly, saying that while you also post a bunch about the NSDAP, there's a lot of pagans that post a lot of bullshit about the NSDAP that just makes them look empty-headed and foolish. Powerful quote. If anyone doesn't want to hear anything Jewish or receive anything from a Jew, let Jesus go. General Erich Ludendorff. By the Forbidden One. And the Forbidden One here posts a lot of content that is similar to that one. All over his Twitter. There's that one. There's some referencing Stryker, I believe. No, that's Frank. I know there's another one, Stryker, here. But he's quoting a lot of controversial right-wing figures out there, to say the least. And the thing is about pagans is, like I said, they have always said psychotic nonsense. And that includes General Erich Ludendorff. So let's get into Ludendorff right here real quick and talk about the many nonsensical things he had to say about Christianity. Let's get the tool out, handy dandy. We're reading from the Holy Reich by Richard Steigman Gall, a liberal Jew. I believe. 99% sure, saying he was the professor for Jewish studies at some sort of university. It's a safe bet. We're going to start here on chapter Blood and Soil, the Paganist Ambivalence. I'm going to start here with Erich Ludendorff, was arguably the first paganist of the Nazi movement and easily the most recognizable of early NS members. He was one of the most notable military leaders of the First World War, who is a partnership with Hindenburg, won some of Germany's greatest victories, most famously the Battle of Tannenberg on the Russian front in World War I. And we'll cover that a little bit here because it's important to get a detail on who he is and how well he respected he is. With the Battle of Tannenberg, second battle was fought between Russia and Germany. Only took 7 days, or 8 if you include the 23rd and the 30th or whatever. But, they're probably packing in and packing out during those times, too. The battle resulted in almost complete destruction of the Russian Second Army and the suicide of its commanding general. Ultimate victory, when you beat them so badly they put a bullet in their brain. Alexander Samosnov. A series of follow-up battles followed, blah, blah, blah. Russians off balance until the spring of 1915. Belligerents, German Empire, Russians. Army composition, 150,000, 160,000. 70, 90,000 casualties versus 13K. Some suspect 30, though. Overwhelming victory, to say the least. The key thing on the bottom here, we'll just finish it off. The battle in particularly notable for the fast rail movements of German 8th Army, enabling them to concentrate against each of the two Russian armies in turn, doing the similar things they did for the war to unify Germany. In turn, that delaying the first army and then destroying the second before once again turning on the first days later. It was just a chase. It was just a rundown. A day of Russians fleeing on feet being chased down by Germans on trains. It also was notable for the failure of the Russians to encode their radio messages, broadcasting their daily marching orders clearly for everyone to see. Big mistake there. Almost miraculous outcome brought considerable prestige to Paul Marshal von Hindenburg and his rising staff officer, Erich Ludendorff. Okay? That battle alone just really got them in there, and they named it after Tannenberg, even though it wasn't actually in Tannenberg, to give the Teutonic Knights the victory they deserved 500 years ago. So that's Tannenberg. And now you understand why Ludendorff is so well respected within Germany at this time. So that's where we finished. During the last 2 years of the war, he and Hindenburg assumed near dictatorial powers as the civilian authorities began to lose credibility. Having advocated and negotiated peace after the collapse of the Western Front in 1918, Ludendorff soon became involved in the Volkisch movement. It is perhaps no coincidence that one of the men most responsible for Germany's surrender that year would become a leading propagandist of the stab in the back legend. Ludendorff took part in the failed cap push of 1920, shortly afterwards becoming a figurehead of the NS movement and taking part in the failed Adolf push of 1923. At the push trial, his enormous prestige ensured that he, unlike Adolf, would be acquitted of all charges. Very famous, very well respected among the German people, no matter what your politics are. Just the fact that he fought that war and was so high up and it had so much success in it just gave him honor and dignity throughout the country. During Adolf's brief imprisonment, Ludendorff attempted to take over the NSDAP with a new National Socialist Freedom Party. That's in German. NSFP, which fought with Streicher's Greater German People's Community, that movement right there, for the mantle of Nazism. It was during this time that Ludendorff, like Dinter, doesn't matter who he is, we'll cover him later, attempted to turn Nazism into an explicitly religious movement. While Dinter attempted a reform of Christianity, however, Ludendorff's religious agenda was anti-Christian and pagan. Indeed, Ludendorff proclaimed a divorce from Christianity, a position that Dinter would have rejected utterly. Accordingly to Ludendorff's adjutant, Wilhelm Bucklet, like his second-hand man. This is what his second-hand man wrote about Ludendorff in 1924. Ludendorff charged Adolf with having expressly based the party on positive Christianity in his program and sought to demonstrate to him with biblical quotation that Christianity was and by nature had to be the sharpest opponent of every Volkisch movement. Ludendorff's anti-Christian ideology was strongly influenced by his second wife, Mathilde von Kametz. No idea if I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. The daughter of a theologian, von Kametz, came to hate everything associated with Christianity, creating in its place a philosophy she called Deutsch Guter Chemnitzness, I guess. Kind of named it after herself. And it's important to understand his wife's philosophy and their religion, to understand the husband, of course, since they're both pagans, and she convinced him to convert to it. As early as 1920, von Kametz... phone got tilted a bit. Von Kametz had attempted to infuse the Nazi movement with her paganistic religious views, but had received burlesque rejection from Adolf, to whom her ideas and teachings seemed like confused delusions. Adolf comes in, calling her batshit fucking crazy. And the source is IBID, meaning our reference point for that quote coming from Adolf comes from the second-hand man of Ludendorff, Wilhelm Becker. So a very reliable source for that quote. In Ludendorff, right here, however, she found a more receptive audience. He used his power in the NSFP to bring Kametz into prominence at a party conference held on August 1924. The Ludendorffs Ludendorffs tempted to impose their religious views. The main speech of the conference was read by von Kametz, his second wife, who insisted on the centrality of a new religious for the Nazi movement that was anti-Christian in tone. Like her husband, she believed that behind the international powers of Marxism, Catholicism, capitalism, Freemasonry, and the Jews were at work. But even the Jews were tools of another force, namely The Dalai Lama. I bet you weren't expecting that. The Dalai Lama is pulling all the strings. They're the real controllers of it all. It's the Buddhist all along. Holy shit. And this lady is going to a conference for a National Socialist Party, talking about the Dalai Lama. Real fucking insane shit. It's like, hey, do you got a source for that? We'll continue. Who sought to destroy Germany from far away in Tibet. This fantasy was too much even for Alfred Rosenberg, another pagan, who wrote that Kmetz made world history into an affair of mere secret conspiracies. She was a dumb bitch. That's what he said. He said she's a fucking moron and we don't want anything to do with her nonsense. While Adolf's release from prison, Ludendorff was increasingly marginalized, and especially after the latter's disastrous showing in the 1925 presidential elections. In the same year, Ludendorff founded the Tannenberg League as an exclusively mystical religious sect, as we have seen in the relation to Dinter's ultra-sectarian Christianity. Adolf rejected any attempt to turn Nazism into a political religion. However, whereas Adolf adhered to many of Dinter's and Eckhart's religious views, he was totally opposed to Ludendorff's, as Adolf wrote in Mein Kampf. Right there. The characteristic thing about these people talking about pagans is they rave about old Germanic heroism, about dim prehistory, stone axes, spear, and shield. But in reality, are the greatest cowards that can be imagined for the same people who brandish scholarly imitations of old German tin swords and wear a dressed bearskin with bull horns over this bearded beads, preach for the present nothing but struggle with spiritual weapons, and run away as fast as they can from communist blackjacks. Let me adjust my camera here while I continue reading. Hopefully that gets rid of the flare there. Yeah. So Adolf shat on pagans and didn't believe in anything they said, and even wrote about it in his legendary My Struggle, the book. And it continues. 2 years later, Adolf expelled Ludendorff from the NSDAP. He additionally forbade members from the NSDAP to enter the Tannenberg League, his weird little cult. Undeterred, Ludendorff continued along the religious path in 1931, and it talks about his wife's book, and we really don't care. It talks about Ludendorff's relationship with Protestants, and then gets into Catholics and how he was very anti-black. As they put it, the black threatened Germany. Meant Catholics, similar to the Center Party, had black as their color. Talks about his Catholic despise, talks about when he starts despising Protestants. And then we go back here, going back to the same year when he was expelled, the same year that he was expelled from the NSDAP, Ludendorff formally left the Protestant Church. In a letter to the church authorities, he declared he no longer believed in the Protestant religion because the Dalai Lama is controlling everything. However, perhaps more importantly, was his resentment that the anti-ultramontanist and anti-Masonic campaign was insufficiently championed by his church. Given his attack on Adolf for supposedly going to Canossa, we can safely discount his polemic against the Protestant establishment as equally inflated. So he didn't like Christians, he didn't like either of them. But he didn't like Catholics more. Because Canossa, the place Adolf supposedly visited that he was ridiculed by Ludendorff for doing, is a holy site, a religious zone, where Holy Roman Emperor Henry the Fourth, should know that, I'm such an idiot, it's fourth, did penance in 1077, stood 3 days bareheaded in the snow to reverse his excommunication by Pope Gregory VII. Yeah, so that's fourth. And I find that all amusing, that these pagans are sharing this pagan character and championing him as some sort of NS guy and super fucking smart when he thought the Dalai Lama controlled the entire planet, was pulling all the strings, and was expelled from the party. Pretty early on, too. Before even the 1930s, before they even started getting some really serious traction. So, I've been the King's Fool, and I hope you educate yourselves and have a good one.